Naomi Brooks stood in the hospital hallway, her hands shaking so badly she had to grip them together. The fancy woman in the expensive suit was still talking, but Naomi could barely hear her over the pounding of her own heart. "So, Miss Brooks, do we have a deal?" the woman asked, her red lips curling into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Naomi wanted to run. She wanted to scream. But all she could think about was her mother, lying in a bed 3 floors below, getting sicker every single day. Let me tell you how Naomi got here, in this impossible moment, about to make a choice that would change her life forever. 2 weeks earlier, Naomi had been scrubbing floors in the pediatric ward when her phone buzzed. It was the hospital billing department. Again, "Miss Brooks, your mother's treatment costs have reached $47,000. We need a payment plan immediately or we'll have to—" "Please," Naomi whispered, glancing around to make sure no other nurses could hear. "Just give me 1 more week. I'm working double shifts. I'll figure something out." But she didn't know how. Naomi was only 23 years old. She worked as a nurse's aide, which meant she helped real nurses do their jobs. She changed bedsheets, brought patients water, and held their hands when they were scared. The work was hard, and the pay was small. Her mother had cancer. The medicine she needed cost more money than Naomi would make in 5 years. Maybe 10. Every night, Naomi would visit her mother's room after her shift ended. Her mama would smile, even though Naomi could see the pain in her eyes. "Baby girl, you work too hard." Her mama would say, "I'm fine, Mama." Naomi would lie, "Everything's going to be okay." But nothing was okay, and Naomi was drowning. Then came the day that changed everything. Naomi was pushing a cart full of clean towels when she heard crying coming from the executive wing, the fancy part of the hospital where rich people stayed. She shouldn't have stopped. That wing wasn't her job. But Naomi had a soft heart, and she couldn't ignore someone in pain. She peeked into room 507. A young man lay in the bed, perfectly still. Machines beeped softly around him. His face was peaceful, like he was just sleeping. But Naomi knew better. She'd seen enough coma patients to recognize one. "He looks so alive, doesn't he?" Naomi jumped. A tall man in an expensive gray suit stood behind her. His hair was silver, and his eyes were cold like a frozen lake. "I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean to—" "You're Naomi Brooks," he said. It wasn't a question. Naomi's stomach dropped. How did he know her name? "I'm Gregory Thornton," the man continued. "That's my son, Ethan." Naomi looked back at the young man in the bed. He was probably around her age, with dark hair and strong features. Even unconscious, he looked kind somehow. "I'm very sorry about your son, Mr. Thornton," Naomi said quietly. Gregory Thornton studied her with those cold eyes. "I've heard you're a good worker. Reliable. Honest. I try to be, sir. And I hear your mother is very sick. Stage 3 cancer. The bills must be crushing." Naomi felt her face grow hot. How did this stranger know about her private business? "I'd like to help you," Gregory said. "Help both of us, actually." "I don't understand." "Walk with me." They went to a small office down the hall. A woman in a sharp black suit was waiting there. She had perfect hair and perfect makeup, and a smile that made Naomi feel cold. "This is Clara Evans," Gregory said. "She handles special situations for our family." Clara gestured for Naomi to sit. "Miss Brooks, the Thornton family needs your help. And in return, we'll pay all of your mother's medical bills. Every penny. Plus, we'll give you $100,000 in cash." Naomi couldn't breathe. That much money would save her mama's life. It would change everything. What would I have to do?" she whispered. Gregory leaned forward. "My son had an accident 6 months ago. The company, Thornton Industries, has been struggling since then. Our stock is falling. Our partners are nervous. We need to show the world that everything is stable, that Ethan is being cared for, that our family is strong. I still don't understand what this has to do with me." Clara opened a folder and slid it across the table. Inside were photos of Naomi, pictures of her working in a hospital, walking to the bus stop, visiting her mother. Someone had been following her. "You're perfect," Clara said. "Young, Pretty sympathetic. A nurse who fell in love with her patient. It's a beautiful story. Story? Naomi's voice cracked. We want you to marry my son, Gregory said calmly, like he was discussing the weather. Naomi stood up so fast her chair fell over. That's crazy. He's in a coma. He can't even... Exactly, Clara interrupted, which means he can't say no. And neither can you, really. Not if you want your mother to live. Naomi felt tears burning in her eyes. This is wrong. This is business, Gregory said. You'll marry Ethan in a small ceremony. We'll take some photos, make a press release. You'll visit him 3 times a week, always when photographers are around. You'll play the devoted wife. In 6 months, when the company stabilizes, we'll quietly divorce you. You'll sign papers saying you'll never tell anyone the truth. Your mother gets her treatment. You get your money and everyone wins. And if I say no? Clara's smile grew sharper. Then your mother's treatment stops tomorrow. I'm on the hospital board. Miss Brooks. 1 phone call, and she's discharged. Naomi wanted to fight. She wanted to tell them to go to hell. But all she could see was her mama's face. How long do I have to decide? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. You have until Monday, Gregory said. 3 days. Naomi didn't sleep for those 3 days. She thought about running away with her mama, but where would they go? She thought about telling someone, but who would believe her? The Thorntons were powerful. She was nobody. On Sunday night, she sat by her mother's bedside. Her mama was sleeping, her breathing shallow and weak. I'm so sorry, Mama, Naomi whispered. I have to do something terrible to save you. Please forgive me. On Monday morning, Naomi met Clara in that same cold office. I'll do it, she said, but I have conditions. My mama gets the best treatment available, and I want the money put in a special account for her care. I don't want anything for myself. Clara smirked. How noble. Fine. Sign here. The contract was 20 pages long. Naomi's hands shook as she wrote her name. The wedding happened 3 days later in Ethan's hospital room. They cleaned him up nice, put him in a fancy suit. A minister stood at the foot of the bed. Gregory and Clara watched from the corner. A photographer snapped pictures of everything. Naomi wore a simple white dress they'd given her. It felt like a costume, like she was playing pretend in someone else's life. The minister said the words. Naomi repeated them, her voice hollow. You may kiss the groom, the minister said. This was the moment Naomi had been dreading most. She leaned down slowly. Ethan's face was so peaceful. Up close, she could see the freckles on his nose, the small scar on his chin. He was a real person, not just a prop in his father's game. I'm sorry, she whispered, so quietly only he could hear. I'm so sorry. Then she pressed her lips gently to his. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Ethan's hand twitched. Naomi jerked back, her heart hammering. Had she imagined it? Did you see that? She gasped. His hand moved. But Gregory and Clara were already ushering the photographer out, talking about press releases and social media posts. Nobody was paying attention to Ethan, except Naomi. She stared at his hand, lying still on the white sheet. It had moved. She was sure of it, and deep in her gut, Naomi felt something shift. This wasn't over. In fact, it was just beginning. Whatever happened next, nothing would ever be the same. Naomi couldn't stop thinking about Ethan's hand. For 3 days after the wedding, she went about her normal work, mopping floors, delivering meals, helping patients sit up in bed. But her mind kept drifting back to room 507, to that moment when his fingers had twitched. Had it been real? Or had she imagined it because she wanted so badly for something good to come from this mess? On Thursday, Clara called her. Time for your first official visit, Mrs. Thornton, she said, and Naomi hated how the fake name sounded. Be at Ethan's room at 2 p.m. Wear something nice. The photographer will be there. Naomi wanted to refuse, but she'd signed the contract. She'd taken their blood money. Her mama's treatment had already started. New medicines, better doctors. Her mama was already getting stronger. This was the price. When Naomi arrived at room 507, She was surprised to find it empty except for Ethan. No photographer. No Clara. No Gregory. "Hello," she called out. A nurse poked her head in. "Oh, Mrs. Thornton." The photographer called and said he'd be 20 minutes late. Traffic on the bridge. Mrs. Thornton. That name again. It felt like a lie sitting heavy on Naomi's chest. "Okay," Naomi said. "Thank you." The nurse left, and suddenly Naomi was alone with her husband. She walked slowly to his bedside. In the soft afternoon light, Ethan looked even more like he was just sleeping. His chest rose and fell steadily. The machines hummed their quiet songs. "Hi," Naomi whispered, feeling foolish talking to someone who couldn't hear. "I guess we're married now. Isn't that weird?" No response. "Of course not. I want you to know I didn't want to do this," she continued, her voice cracking. "Your father, he didn't give me a choice. But that's not an excuse. I should have been stronger. I should have found another way." She pulled up a chair and sat down. Without thinking, she reached out and took his hand. It was warm, alive. "I wonder what you're like when you're awake," she said softly. "Are you nice? Are you mean like your father? Do you laugh a lot or are you serious?" His hand lay still in hers. "I hope you're nice," she whispered. "I hope when you wake up, if you wake up, you'll understand why I did this terrible thing." Naomi sat there for a long time, just holding his hand, and for the first time since this nightmare began, she felt something like peace. Then Ethan's fingers squeezed hers. Naomi gasped and jumped to her feet. "Ethan, can you hear me?" His eyes stayed closed. His face remained peaceful. But his hand, it had definitely squeezed. "Ethan, if you can hear me, squeeze my hand again." Nothing. Naomi's heart was racing. She pressed the call button for the nurse, but then stopped. What would she say? What if they told Gregory? What if this was bad for some reason she didn't understand? Instead, she pulled out her phone and started researching. She read article after article about coma patients, about brain activity, about signs of waking up. Small movements could mean the brain was healing. It could mean he was trying to come back. The photographer arrived, breaking her concentration. He posed Naomi next to the bed, made her hold Ethan's hand, smiled sadly at the camera. It felt disgusting, like she was using Ethan's pain for a photo op, because that's exactly what she was doing. After that day, Naomi started visiting Ethan even when she wasn't supposed to. She'd finish her shift, then sneak up to room 507 during her break. She'd talk to him, tell him about her day, read him stories from the newspaper. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes she'd feel his hand twitch or see his eyelids flutter. He was in there. She was sure of it. But the more time she spent with Ethan, the more questions started bubbling up in her mind. How exactly had he ended up in this coma? Gregory had said it was an accident. But what kind of accident? And why were there always strange doctors coming and going from his room? Doctors who weren't on the hospital staff. One evening, Naomi was leaving after a visit when she heard Gregory's voice coming from a room down the hall. The door was cracked open just a little. She knew she should keep walking, mind her own business. But something in Gregory's tone made her stop. "Can't wake up yet," Gregory was saying. "The investigation is still ongoing. If he starts talking before we've covered our tracks." "I understand, Mr. Thornton," another voice replied. A man's voice, smooth and oily. "The medication adjustment will keep him under for at least another 3 months. Long enough for your legal team to make everything disappear." Naomi's blood turned to ice. Medication adjustment? Keep him under? They were keeping Ethan in the coma on purpose. Her hand flew to her mouth to keep from gasping out loud. Her whole body started shaking. "And the girl?" the oily voice asked. "The wife?" "She's nobody," Clara's voice chimed in. Naomi hadn't realized she was there too. "A poor nurse's aide who'll do whatever we say as long as we pay her mother's bills. She's useful for PR, but she's not a threat." "Good," Gregory said. "The last thing we need is someone asking questions." Naomi didn't wait to hear more. She turned and ran, her shoes squeaking on the polished floor. She didn't stop until she was in the staff bathroom, locked in a stall, trying to catch her breath. They were drugging Ethan, keeping him unconscious. But why? And what investigation had Gregory mentioned? For the next week, Naomi became a spy in her own workplace. She started paying attention to everything. She noticed that Dr. Morrison, Ethan's main doctor, always looked nervous when Gregory was around. She noticed that certain medications appeared on Ethan's chart, but weren't standard for coma patients. She also started digging into old news articles on her phone during breaks. And that's when she found it. 6 months ago, right before Ethan's accident, there had been a huge scandal brewing around Thornton Industries. The company was accused of selling faulty medical equipment to hospitals, equipment that had hurt people. Some had even died. There were lawsuits, criminal investigations. The district attorney was building a case. And then, suddenly, Ethan Thornton, the vice president of the company, the person who would have had to testify, ended up in a coma after a mysterious car accident. The investigations slowed down. Without Ethan's testimony, the prosecutors had a harder time building their case. It wasn't an accident. Naomi felt sick. Gregory had done something to his own son. Maybe not caused the accident directly, but certainly taken advantage of it. And now he was keeping Ethan unconscious, so he couldn't tell the truth. Naomi thought about going to the police. But what proof did she have? She'd heard a conversation through a door. That wasn't evidence. She needed more. The next time Naomi visited Ethan during her scheduled photo op time, she brought something hidden in her purse. Her phone, set to record audio. She placed it carefully on the windowsill, hidden behind a vase of flowers, and turned it on. "Hello, Ethan," she said, speaking clearly. "It's me again, your wife." The word tasted bitter now. "I need to tell you something," she continued. "I know what your father is doing. I know they're keeping you asleep on purpose. And I know about Thornton Industries, about the faulty equipment, about the people who got hurt." She paused, tears running down her face. "I was wrong to take their money. I was wrong to marry you without your permission, but I'm going to make it right. I promise you, Ethan, I'm going to find a way to wake you up and stop them." She sat there for another hour, talking about everything, her mama, her fears, her plans, all of it captured on her recording phone. When the photographer left, Naomi retrieved her phone. She now had evidence, her own testimony, recorded and time-stamped. But she needed more. She needed proof of the drugs they were giving him. That night, Naomi did something that could have gotten her fired, arrested, or worse. She snuck into the hospital pharmacy using a key she'd borrowed from a distracted nurse. Her hands shook as she logged into the computer system and pulled up Ethan's medication records. There it was, a powerful sedative, prescribed by a doctor who wasn't even on staff at this hospital, a doctor whose name appeared nowhere else in the system, a fake doctor, or rather, a real doctor being paid by Gregory to keep Ethan unconscious. Naomi took photos of everything with her phone, the medication orders, the fake doctor's credentials, the timeline showing when the drugs had started. She was so focused on gathering evidence that she didn't hear the footsteps behind her until it was too late. Well, Clara's voice made Naomi jump. "What do we have here?" Naomi spun around, clutching her phone. Clara stood in the doorway, her arms crossed, her perfect face twisted into something ugly. "I knew you were trouble," Clara hissed. "Gregory said you were harmless, but I could see it in your eyes. You care too much." "You're keeping him in a coma," Naomi said, trying to sound braver than she felt. "You're drugging him so he can't tell the truth about what the company did." "Smart girl," Clara said, stepping closer. "Too smart for your own good. Give me the phone, Naomi." "No. Give me the phone, or your mother's treatment stops. Tonight. Right now. One phone call and she's back to dying." Naomi's heart broke. Not again. Not this impossible choice again. But then she thought about Ethan, lying helpless in that bed. She thought about all the people hurt by Thornton Industries' faulty equipment. She thought about what her mama had always taught her. Do the right thing, even when it's hard. "No," Naomi said again, stronger this time. "I'm going to the police. I'm going to tell them everything." Clara lunged for the phone, but Naomi was faster. She dodged past her and ran. She ran through the dark hospital hallways, her heart pounding, Clara's footsteps behind her. She ran past empty patient rooms and startled janitors. She ran until she burst through the front doors and into the cool night air. And she kept running, because everything had changed. The truth was out there now, captured on her phone. And Naomi Brooks, poor, powerless Naomi Brooks, was going to make sure the world knew what the Thorntons had done, even if it cost her everything. Naomi didn't go home that night. She couldn't. Clara knew where she lived. Gregory had people everywhere. If she went home, they'd find her, take her phone, destroy the evidence, and probably make sure she never worked in another hospital again. Or worse. Instead, Naomi went to the one place she knew she'd be safe. The office of Maria Rodriguez, a legal aid lawyer who'd helped Naomi's mama with paperwork years ago. Maria answered her door in pajamas, looking confused. But when she saw Naomi's tear-stained face, she pulled her inside immediately. "Tell me everything," Maria said, and Naomi did. She told Maria about the forced marriage, about the drug medications, about Gregory's plan to keep Ethan silent. She showed Maria all the photos, played her the recordings. Maria's face grew darker with each revelation. "This is big," Maria said quietly. "Really big. We're talking fraud, medical malpractice, obstruction of justice, maybe even attempted murder. The Thorntons are powerful, Naomi. They'll fight back hard." "I know," Naomi whispered, "but I can't let them keep hurting Ethan. And all those people who got hurt by their faulty equipment. They deserve justice too." Maria studied her for a long moment. Then she smiled. "You're braver than you know. Okay, first thing tomorrow, we go to the district attorney. Tonight, you sleep here where you're safe." Naomi finally let herself cry. Big, gulping sobs of fear and relief and exhaustion. Maria held her like a mother would. And for the first time in weeks, Naomi felt like maybe, just maybe, everything would be okay. The next morning, they walked into the district attorney's office together. The DA, a sharp-eyed woman named Patricia Chun, listened to everything. She watched the videos, examined the photos, took notes in careful handwriting. When Naomi finished, DA Chun looked up with fire in her eyes. "We've been trying to build a case against Thornton Industries for months," she said. "But without Ethan Thornton's testimony, we kept hitting walls. This changes everything. What happens now?" Naomi asked. "Now we get a warrant. We're going to that hospital, and we're going to make sure Ethan Thornton gets real medical care. Not whatever poison Gregory's been feeding him." It happened fast after that. By noon, police officers and federal agents descended on City General Hospital. They seized Ethan's medical records, arrested the fake doctor who'd been prescribing the sedatives, and posted guards outside Ethan's room. Gregory and Clara were brought in for questioning. And Naomi? She was finally allowed to see Ethan without cameras, without contracts, without lies. Dr. Sarah Lynn, a real neurologist brought in by the DA's office, examined Ethan thoroughly. Naomi waited outside, pacing, praying, hoping. Finally, Dr. Lynn emerged. "The good news is his brain activity is strong," she said. "Your husband," she paused, clearly uncertain about that word, "has been showing signs of consciousness for weeks, maybe longer, but the sedatives kept suppressing his ability to fully wake up. Can you help him?" Naomi asked desperately. "We're stopping all the unnecessary medications immediately. It'll take a few days for his system to clear. But yes, I believe he'll wake up. His body wants to wake up. We just have to let it." Naomi burst into tears again. Happy tears this time. She sat by Ethan's bed for 3 days straight. The nurses brought her food. Maria brought her clean clothes. Her mama, who was getting stronger every day thanks to the treatment, called to tell her how proud she was. "You did the right thing, baby girl," her mama said, even though it was scary. That's what real courage is. Naomi talked to Ethan constantly. She told him about the investigation, about his father's arrest, about all the news reporters camped outside the hospital. "The whole world's watching now," she said softly, "waiting for you to wake up and tell your story. But no pressure, okay? You wake up when you're ready. On the third day, as afternoon sun streamed to the window, Ethan's eyes fluttered open. Naomi was reading him a news article and almost didn't notice. Then she heard a small sound, a groan. She looked up and found him staring at her. "Ethan," she whispered. His voice was rough, barely there. "Who are you?" Naomi's heart clenched. "My name is Naomi. I have a lot to explain." Over the next few days, as Ethan grew stronger, Naomi told him everything. She told him about the forced marriage, about his father's schemes, about the company's crimes. She apologized over and over for being part of it. Even though she'd been trapped too, Ethan listened to it all. Sometimes he looked angry. Sometimes he looked sad. But mostly he just looked tired. "I remember bits and pieces," he finally said. "I remember the accident. My brakes failed. I remember trying to tell someone about the equipment problems at the company. But Dad kept shutting me down. And I remember—" He paused, looking at Naomi with strange eyes. "I remember a kiss. And a voice. Your voice. You talked to me. When I was trapped in the dark, I heard you." Naomi felt her cheeks grow hot. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have—" "No," Ethan interrupted. "You saved me. Your voice was like a rope I could hold on to. It reminded me I had to fight to come back." Tears streamed down Naomi's face. "I'm so sorry about your father. About everything." Ethan reached out and took her hand. The same hand she'd held so many times when he was unconscious. "You're the only person who told me the truth," he said. "The only one who tried to help me. Don't apologize for that." The investigation revealed everything. Gregory Thornton had known about the faulty medical equipment for years. He'd hidden safety reports, bribed inspectors, and threatened employees who tried to speak up. When Ethan discovered the truth and threatened to blow the whistle, Gregory had someone tamper with his car. The accident wasn't meant to kill Ethan, just scare him into silence. But Ethan ended up in a coma, and Gregory saw an opportunity. Keep him unconscious until the investigation went away. Use his tragedy for sympathy. Marry him off to a poor girl for good PR. It was evil, plain and simple evil. Gregory and Clara were both arrested. They faced dozens of charges: fraud, conspiracy, attempted murder. The company was shut down, its assets frozen to pay back victims. And Naomi? The marriage was annulled quietly. She'd never really been Ethan's wife. The whole thing was built on lies and coercion. But something unexpected happened. Even after the annulment, Ethan asked Naomi to stay. "I know we didn't start in a normal way," he said, "but I'd like to get to know you. The real you. No contracts, no cameras. Just us." Naomi smiled. "I like that too." 6 months later, things looked very different. Naomi's mama was in remission, healthy and strong. The treatment had worked. Naomi had a new job, patient advocate at City General Hospital. She helped people navigate medical bills and insurance, making sure no one else got trapped like she had. The hospital had also implemented new ethics policies to prevent families from abusing comatose patients ever again. Ethan had testified against his father in court. Gregory was sentenced to 15 years in prison. Clara got 7. And Ethan took what was left of his inheritance, money that wasn't tied up in the company's crimes, and created a foundation. It helped victims of medical fraud and families drowning in hospital debt. As for Naomi and Ethan, they were dating. Real dating. Coffee dates and movie nights and long walks where they talked about everything and nothing. They were learning each other slowly, honestly, building something real from the ashes of something fake. One evening, they sat on a bench outside the hospital where everything had started. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. "Do you ever regret it?" Naomi asked. "Everything that happened?" Ethan thought about it. "I regret that people got hurt. I regret that my father chose money over doing what was right. But I don't regret meeting you, even in the strangest, most messed up way possible." Naomi laughed. "That's one way to put it. We turned something bad into something good." Ethan said, "That's what matters. We chose truth over lies. We chose courage over fear. And we chose each other, really chose each other, in the end." Naomi leaned her head on his shoulder. Yeah, we did. The story of Naomi and Ethan made headlines for months. Some people called it a scandal. Others called it romantic. But most people saw it for what it really was, a story about standing up for what's right, even when it costs you everything. Naomi learned that being poor didn't mean being powerless, that her voice mattered, that one person telling the truth could take down an empire of lies. Ethan learned that family isn't just blood. It's the people who choose to stand by you, care for you, fight for you. He learned that privilege comes with responsibility, and that wealth means nothing if you use it to hurt others. Together, they learned that love isn't a fairy tale kiss that magically fixes everything. Real love is choosing someone every day. It's being honest even when it's hard. It's healing together, growing together, building something true and lasting. The kiss that started it all wasn't really about love. It was about desperation and manipulation and power. But the life they built afterward, that was real. That was theirs. And that was something worth fighting for. If this story touched your heart and made you think about courage, truth, and standing up for what's right, please like this story and share it with your friends and family. Every share helps spread this important message. Truth always wins in the end, and even when powerful people try to hurt us, we can fight back by being brave and honest. Subscribe for more amazing stories about real people facing impossible choices and finding the courage to do what's right. Stories that inspire us, teach us, and remind us that good can triumph over evil. Remember Naomi's lesson. You are never too small, too poor, or too powerless to make a difference. Your voice matters. Your choices matter. And when you stand up for truth, you might just change the world. Like, share, and subscribe to keep these powerful stories coming. Blue Heart, drop a comment below and tell us, what would you have done in Naomi's situation? Would you have taken the money to save your family? Or would you have found another way? See you in the next story. Stay brave, stay true, and never stop fighting for what's right.